The apartment was nice. New build, 9th floor, lots of light. Emma loved the hallway mirror. Floor to ceiling, warm oak frame. She'd found it when she moved in, and it made the space feel bigger. She didn't notice the first time it blinked. It was late October. She'd been brushing her teeth, half asleep, and glanced at the mirror across the hall. Her reflection had paused for a heartbeat too long before lifting the toothbrush to her mouth. "You're tired," she told herself. "You're imagining things." But the second time, she was wide awake. The third time happened on a Tuesday. Emma was getting ready for work, mascara, earrings, the usual. She stepped back from the mirror to check the overall look, and her reflection just stayed there, standing still while she shifted her weight, while she tilted her head, while she raised an eyebrow in question. Her reflection raised its eyebrow a fraction of a second later. Not a delay, not lag, a hesitation, like it had to think about it first. That night, she told her roommate, Danny, about it. "It has been doing weird things," Emma said. "I think something's wrong with it." Danny laughed. "Have more wine, maybe." But that weekend, Danny saw it himself. They were watching a movie in the living room. Something forgettable, probably. Danny got up to get a beer, walked past the hallway mirror, and froze. "Emma," he said, very quietly, "come here." She didn't want to, but she went. In the mirror, they both saw it. Two figures on the couch where they'd been sitting, watching the movie. But in the reflection, only Emma was on the couch now. Danny was standing in the hallway, staring. And standing where Danny should be, in the reflection, was something else. It had Danny's shape, Danny's clothes, but the face was wrong. Too wide, too smooth, like a mask made of candle wax that had been left too close to a fire. It smiled when Danny smiled. It put a hand against the glass, and the glass gave. Danny screamed. The reflection pulled its hand back, and the mirror went dark for a moment. Truly dark, like someone had turned off the light behind it. When it came back on, everything was normal. Both of them in the hallway, both reflections matching. But on the glass, where the thing had pressed its hand, there was a handprint that slowly faded like breath on a cold window. The next few days were worse. Emma started checking every mirror before she looked at them. A quick glance away first, then back, expecting to see something wrong. Sometimes she did. Brief moments when her reflection moved differently, or wore an expression she didn't remember making. She called a priest. He didn't help. She called a therapist, who told her she was stressed, and prescribed pills that did nothing. At night, she heard sounds from the hallway. Soft sounds, like someone breathing on glass. Then, the changes started. She'd find things moved in the morning, a chair slightly out of place, a light left on that she was sure she'd turned off, and in the mirror sometimes, she'd catch glimpses of rooms she didn't recognize. Spaces that looked like her apartment, but weren't. Halls that bent the wrong way, doors that opened onto ceilings. Her reflection started wearing different clothes sometimes. Clothes she didn't own. She stopped sleeping in the apartment, stayed at friends' places, hotel rooms, anywhere with no mirrors. It didn't help. In the reflection of a hotel window on the 42nd floor, she saw it waiting for her. looking at her with eyes that were almost right, but wrong in a way she couldn't describe, like looking at a photograph of someone who had been dead for years. It happened on a Thursday. Emma came home to find every mirror in the apartment covered with sheets and towels. Danny had done it, he said, after what he'd seen. "What did you see?" she asked. Danny's face went pale in the bathroom. "When I was brushing my teeth, my reflection, finished brushing first, put the toothbrush down, looked at me, and mouthed the words, 'Come home.'" Emma's phone buzzed, a text from her own number. She hadn't sent it. It said, "You left the door open." She walked to the hallway. The big mirror was still covered, but the sheet was hanging wrong, folded back at one corner. She could see the glass behind it. Through that small gap, she saw a hand reaching through. Not reaching out of the mirror, reaching through it, like it was made of water, and pulling itself through into her hallway one finger at a time. Pale, too long, wrong number of joints in the fingers. She ran. But when she reached the front door, she saw it standing there. In front of the door, wearing her face, wearing Danny's face, wearing something else's face underneath, smooth and wide and smiling. It said her name in a voice that came from everywhere at once. And behind her, in the mirror, she heard glass begin to crack. Danny found her 3 days later, wandering in the hallway outside the apartment. She was alive, barely. She didn't speak, didn't respond, didn't seem to see him when he called her name. She just stood in front of the hallway mirror, the one with the warm oak frame, and stared at her reflection with a calm, empty expression. Her reflection stared back, but it was smiling, and it was waving at Danny. He never saw Emma move again. She stayed there for weeks, sometimes blinking, sometimes breathing, but never speaking, feeding through a tube, eyes always on the glass. Eventually, they moved her somewhere else, and in the apartment that used to be hers, the mirrors stayed covered for a long time, but not forever. Because the new tenant, a young man who loved the natural light and the warm oak frames, moved in on a cold October morning. And in the hallway mirror, a woman with empty eyes watched him arrange his things, waiting for him to notice, waiting for him to look, waiting for him to hesitate. In mirrors, we trust our own faces, but reflections have their own desires, and some of them want to come home.